Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bedrock Basics Badlands. Today's episode is Renew! Now, for those of you that don't know the reference, there was an old 1970s science fiction movie called Logan's Run. And in that movie, the utopian society that was built underground or in dome cities, what have you, to survive the test of time or whatever disasters were befalling the planet. It was sold as a utopian society, but on everybody's 30th or 35th birthday or whatever the cutoff point was, they would all have to report to an extermination chamber where they were basically recycled, and their religious belief was that their spirit would return. But in this science fiction show, all these people were given a crystal in their hand, and it was kind of like a life clock. And when you had so many birthdays and your time was up, you had to report to the recycle chamber. And for them, they called it carousel, and the process was called renewing. And then they had like Sandman enforcers to make sure that people that got too scared or didn't agree with what the government was telling them, they would hunt them down and terminate them on the spot, which would theoretically remove their chance of renewing or being reincarnated. So the science fiction story goes. And that was my inspiration for today's build. Because essentially, when I summon raids, I am harvesting these guys for their emeralds. And at the center of all this, I wanted a beacon. And the beacon, we're going to have the light shooting out of the hand, which was the symbol for that society. The hand with the crystal in the middle of it. And we'll do a Minecraft version of that hand and crystal right at the center. And build just a bit of a platform to battle the incoming raids and harvest the emeralds with. So to start raids, we have one villager in a bed. And there's two workstations that are going to be applied here. One is the grinding stone, because as we know from past episodes, the villagers drop all kinds of enchanted iron items. The grinding stone will let us rub the enchantments off and take the experience points, which can be applied to either gaining levels for enchanting or for repairing items through the mending mechanism. The other workstation is going to be a blast furnace, because after we remove the enchantments off of iron items, we're going to be left with a whole lot of iron items, and essentially a big old furnace system to recycle those items down into iron nuggets. And that's the down-to-earth, nitty-gritty essential of what will happen. And now we're just going to dress it up a bit. So I've got my pattern on the ground, using the gray regular stone and the black cobbled deep slate, and just the brick version of both. You can see we got the blast furnace with a hopper going to the output, an input for fuel at the side, and an input at the top for the items we want to smelt down, which will be iron in this circumstance. Those chests there with their hopper, that's the fuel box and the input box. We just crouch when we jump and apply the chest, because if we don't crouch, the item's not going to be applied on top of the hopper. It'll be applied into the hopper and go through the system, and that's not what we want. Okay, we're going to need a bed for ourselves as we battle, and mistakes may happen. We want to respawn here, not 2,000 blocks away at our spawn point. And I'm going to leave a channel through the statue for the beacon beam to activate. Because if we block that off, we lose the effects of the beacon. And you can see the beacon's got a max a maxed out power supply of emeralds, because I've used this platform many times to generate emeralds from raids. I'll bring it up a bit, and I'm not using a template of any kind, so this is going to involve a whole lot of trial and error, where I put down a block, chop a block, make an adjustment, put down another block, and I'll give you the fast forwarded version of that instead of you watching me just mindlessly trying stairs or cubes or half slabs. But you can see I leave the center chamber open so that the beacon beam can activate, and that does act as a light source. The other thing with that beam is that you can put it through glass, which won't interfere with it. And if you put it through a piece of colored glass, then the beam will change colors. And now in Logan's Run, the magic colors were red and white. But here, because we're harvesting emeralds, we're going to use green. Okay. Put some finger backings and a thumb. And we'll work it out as we go. And it's just the whole trial and error process, see what fits, what doesn't. And there's no way in heck we're going to get all the details of fingers and whatnot without this thing being an absolute colossal monstrosity. So we want to keep the size down a bit, which means we have to reduce the level of detail. And as long as I stand back and I see the finished product and I go, yeah, that looks like my hand, then I'm happy with what I've done. Pinky finger, ring finger, middle finger, and the index finger we're actually going to put off on the side of it. Most because I want the beam to come out of the direct center of the palm, so keeping the palm as a 3x3. Okay, build up the battle platform, and essentially we'll make it 3 high so that any vindicators or other mobs that come up aren't going to actually be able to hit me when I'm on top of the platform. And then I'll give myself some defenses in the form of walls that are positioned just so that you can fire under them or over them, and becomes an easy way to simple battle the raids. And the villager that they're after is in a very well protected little vaulted area with windows, so there's no real threat of the raid failing. It's just a matter of you beating them up or how you want to do it. And I didn't feel right just having a system where the guys fall down, die, and you pick up their stuff. Like, that to me was extremely lackluster, to the point of doesn't feel like you're even playing the game anymore. I like farms and builds, but I don't want it to be ridiculous, otherwise I'd just play in creative mode. There we go, flatten up the platform. And then got a decision here if I want stairs to go up to the top or a ladder. The ladder is simpler. Stairs require a little bit more thought, and because the raiders don't climb ladders worth a darn, I think I'm going to use ladders. Stairs they'd be able to run up and potentially cause trouble. So we'll ladder it. Then we'll start to build controlled access and some battlements in the form of walls. And essentially a floating wall off the side. It's got enough of a gap that you can fire an arrow underneath it, or if targets are far away you can fire over top to get them. And it's just that simple function right there that works. However, we're going to dress that up a little bit so it doesn't look like we just have walls floating in the air. We'll give it some false support structures. So in my travels, having beaten everything except for the warden on this world, you got to start to think what's next. And I do have all kinds of art projects in mind, but an opportunity has come up for me to be in a multiplayer server with another YouTuber, and that's something that I really want to explore. Is the creative process with two of us creatives. And after this episode, I'm going to focus a lot of my time into that new world. So this could very well be the last Badlands episode that will be done for quite a while. I'm not going to delete the world, but I'm going to focus my time into the new multiplayer server. And I really wanted to complete this build and share the concept with everybody before moving on to that project. So it's a little bittersweet here, but it does represent a bit of closure. And there's all kinds of opportunities in the future. And I want to explore those. Okay, I do need the crafting station up here to basically convert emeralds into emerald blocks. And you have to do that at a crafting station, crafting table. Okay, get the false supports on the corners. And the mobs can go right up to the wall and hug the wall and be underneath, which I'll just add wall around the bottom as a skirting so that they can't be right up next to the structure. Okay, I just changing out the wall color so that the floating walls matches the same color scheme as the supporting floor below. And keep in mind, as per the last episode, this entire structure is floating about 200 blocks in the air on top of a cloud. There we go. We've got fighting structure all the way around, and then we'll just wall the bottom so that mobs can't come right up next to it. And I've still got full access by reaching over top to the workstations. Okay, use the right colors so the floor matches. There we go. Back to some black. Whoops, wrong block. Those are blocks, I want walls. There we go. You can see the hands developing, but there's still a couple parts that I've got to refine. Okay, and we get to a point, a few modifications later. We put a crystal in the palm. White glass, lime green glass. Could have used green, but I thought the lime green gave it a brighter color that I was happier with. Adjust the thumb a bit. And again, don't be too critical of your builds from up close. Judge them from a little bit far away. Like that's starting to look a lot more like a hand. But if I get too close, I just see cubes. Doesn't look organic at all. But when you step back, then you can see what we were going for. And little things like just changing cubes out for stairs. maybe sometimes slabs. A little here, a little there, feel it out. And I wanted it to have 4 fingers, not 3 like a Simpsons figure. Put the palm crystal down just a little bit there. Set it right into the palm. Happy with that. Good. Just about does it. Okay, so the last thing we have to do, now that it's all built, is test it. And you see around the exterior, I was thinking about building a structure to dress it up, and I thought fragmented spikes would do it. And this is what I have. Happy with it. Okay, respawn point set because accidents do happen. And then we'll fire up a raid just to give it a test. The most important thing is where they spawn. There we go. Raids spawn on their little platforms, which is perfect. And then you go down, smash them, and collect the loot. Okay, and the last round, yeah. Yep, all the rounds spawned in the correct spots, no problem at all. And with the exception of the magic hand guys and sometimes the witches, this platform is completely safe. So evokers and witches are the primary targets, and then work your way down on the other ones. Alright, success! So with that, I'm going to put out an episode every Friday, but my next focus is going to be the next world I'm working on, which is an exciting adventure for me. But for everybody viewing me so far, thank you very much for all your time, your subscriptions, your likes, your comments. I appreciate you all. Bye-bye.